Hi everybody, thank you for being here. This is Mairi, the Autistic Astrologer. Today we're going to do the cosmic update for the end of February 2021. If it's your first time here, thank you so much for being here. Be sure to like and subscribe so that you can see more videos. You can find me on social media at Healing Services or at the Autistic Astrologer. So when we talk about what's happening for the end of February, this is just going to be the last week of February, and we're going to chat a little bit about what's going to happen as we come into March, just to give you kind of a broader view. We have Mercury that has now stationed direct, and it's spending a week at the same degree, 11 degrees Aquarius. We're going to talk about that. Venus will follow the sun into Pisces in dreamland, and overindulgence may occur. We have Jupiter trining the nodes, which makes karmic healing a huge possibility for the collective and for us in each of our charts. This will show up in a different way. We end the month with the Virgo Full Moon. We're going to talk about all of it here and some more. So be sure to check in the description if you want to zoom through to something that resonates for you. Otherwise, we're just going to kind of take it as it comes forward. So this energy, again, is karmic healing energy. So full moons illuminate things that often we don't see, or we hide, or we have a hard time being honest with, or we just weren't ready to see it yet. This is a time where the moon can illuminate things for us. This is internal. This is yin energy. This is emotions and intuition, things that are happening internally. And it's happening in Virgo, which isn't necessarily comfortable with intuition and feelings and the imagination and tapping into that energy. So during a full moon, we look for balance. We have the sun in Pisces on one side of the chart, and directly across, we have the moon in Virgo on the other side of the chart. And the moon is taking center stage. It's the only planet that's on that side of the chart. And so it really does give the full stage to our emotions, to the moon happening in Virgo. And it's just putting this spotlight on it, asking to be seen, to be healed, to be cleansed. Virgo is the cleaner of the zodiac signs. So we're asking to cleanse the energy, things that we've been holding, those deep crevices that get missed by other signs. Virgo comes in with detail and picks through it and combs out and leaves behind what isn't needed. We go back 6 months with a full moon to the new moon in Virgo. What seeds were planted with the new moon 6 months ago? How are those things coming to fruition now? Where are we on that plan? What do we need to adjust? What have we learned right within that? So cycles and cycles and cycles happening. And as we get into March, we have more signs that are shifting, or more planets that are shifting signs into mutable energy. Mutable energy brings fluidity. It brings movement. Where a lot of us have felt stuck and held back and uncomfortable and ready to go, we start to feel that in March as things move in to mutable signs and get closer to Aries season, where the energy will really start to pick up and take off. So the end of February is significant because it is like that last little hug before we get to move off into this next part, this next phase, this next spiral in our collective evolution. So when we talk about these plans, and we talk about this planets, and we talk about this energy, remember that this is a collective energy that we're talking about. How it plays out in each person's life individually will be based on their specific natal chart. Everyone has a specific natal chart, and it'll give you a lot more insight on how this is playing into your life specifically. If you haven't gotten one, you can get one for free. I invite you to go to astro.com, where I find it most consistent. You can get a free chart there, free readings there. You can also reach out to me for assistance. Find me on social media at the Autistic Astrologer, and you can always feel free to book a session or a reading with me if you want to learn about your chart or learn about astrology. I would be honored to connect with you. So, but again, this is collective energy, so it may not resonate for you specifically. This is more like astrology for awareness, where we can see what's happening in the collective and then dissect it, how it happens within your chart and your life. So I'm always open to chat more about that if you have any questions or need assistance in that. So yes, so this energy taking us through the end of February is karmic, because anytime we have the moon nodes, so our nodes right now are in Gemini and Sagittarius, and that is karmic energy. Okay, that is old patterns is our south node. New patterns, what we're moving into, what we're being called to, is our north node, and that's happening. Our north node is in Gemini. Our north node in Gemini is going to trine Jupiter, the expander. Okay, and we're going to talk about that a little bit more, but this is karmic healing, illuminating old karmic wounds, and a call for balance. With any full moon, we're looking for balance. And a soul cleansing, right? Because we have that Virgo, that deep clean that comes with Virgo. So it's a soul cleansing. It's the cleaning of your house. It's the spring cleaning, right? So we're all at that time of just cleansing your space, your aura, your energy. This is a time to reflect on new thoughts and ideas. So over the last few months, specifically over the last few weeks, there's been a lot of breakthroughs, new ideas, new perspectives, shifts, more understanding in things. This is a time to integrate that, to test them out, right? To try stepping into new patterns, because the past will be calling. We have external planets that are still in heavy signs. So we have Saturn and Uranus in their tight square. They're still within 1 degree of their square in Taurus and Aquarius. More on that if you want to check out the link for the 2021 themes. I'll put it in the description if you want to know more about what's happening in the external planets, but they're keeping us grounded. We're not to the point of going yet because there's still more clarity that needs to be found. And, we're resting in a time of preparation to be able to give, ourselves fully in the coming months and / years as we move forward. So we're still not taking off full force. We still have Pluto in Capricorn for years. We still have that tight square happening between Saturn and Uranus right now. And so there's things keeping us held back still, and that will shift as we move closer into March and closer into the Aries season and cardinal energy. And we'll talk about that more as we go forward as well. I want to start talking about Mercury retrograde and what is happening with Mercury. So I've talked about Mercury retrograde before. Retrogrades are just a time to slow down. They're not a time to stop your life. They're not a time to, really be worried about leading up to it. Mercury is an important planet to pay attention to, regardless of if it's retrograde or not. Retrogrades just ask us to slow down. They're teaching us lessons. We're going back over things that we may have missed before previously. So when we end the retrograde, it stopped at 11, well, it was at 11 degrees on the 18th. So until the 26th, it will stay at 11 degrees. So just because it's come out of retrograde and it's stationed direct, it's still not moving. It's still at 11 degrees until the 26th of February. It will be in its shadow phase or shadow period or retroshade until the 14th of March. And what that means is it's coming back over where it's already been. So the planet is in Aquarius on our chart, and it's going to continue going past degrees that it's already been at. It's already traveled through that. So again, this is a time where we find and innovate the new ideas, the new learnings, the new knowledge that we have gained over the retrograde. So that's the 2-week shadow phase after retrograde. After Mercury goes direct, it comes back over its shadow, where we integrate what we have learned. That happens until March 14th. So until we get to 27 degrees of Aquarius on the 14th and 15th of March, we're in what is referred to as retroshade, or Mercury's shadow phase. This is happening at 11 degrees, right? So it stays at 11 degrees from the 18th for a week, from the 18th until the 26th, when we have our full moon energy coming in. And that part of Aquarius is ruled by Gemini. So we have a lot of air energy. Aquarius and Gemini are both air energies, but they're different air energies. Aquarius is more of the whole humanity, the whole collective. Gemini is more of community, our community, and how we fit into our community. And then Aquarius is how our community fits into the whole. And so, yes, this Mercury retrograde has been in Aquarius, and it's been triggering a lot of the Aquarian things. But there's also a lot of Gemini energy being pulled in. So how we fit into the community, how our community fits into the collective, how we use social media, how we connect to our friends, how we connect to our community. You know, and all of those, you know, shifts. But the Gemini part of Mercury can't not be ignored in this retrograde, because we're also having a huge pull on our communities. And that can be good and that can be bad, right? So there can be gossip within. There can be this Aquarius finding the truth, my truth, one truth, and taking control of collective, of community, cults, right? Pushing information onto people, you know, and we'll get into more of this, so I don't want to go too deep into all of this stuff. But knowing that there's this Gemini pull at 10 degrees to 20 degrees of Aquarius is ruled by Mercury and Gemini. So a lot of that community aspect that you might be feeling. So over the next 2 weeks, you're going to feel less of that like retrograde energy, but we're still coming through it, and still time to flex and test out these new ideas and new awarenesses. Mercury continues to stay active into March. We have it going across the rest of Aquarius, and then it's going to get into March and start playing a role with the sun. So as we get into that, we'll have more cosmic updates about Mercury, but important to remember that we're still not done with this part of the retrograde process. We might have the new knowledge now, but it might not be here in completion. We might only have pieces of it, and there's more of it to come. So being sure that we continue to be aware and take time to slow down, to let those ideas and those processes and those awarenesses and those shifts in perspective catch up to the rest of our body. And that's going to be really important as we move through the next couple weeks, because we're going to continue to gain awareness and gain understanding and gain clarity and finding balance in our communication with ourselves and our communication with others. So more of that will be coming as we get through this like Mercury Retroshade period and into March with some more mutable signs in Pisces. So speaking of Pisces, on the 25th, which is a Thursday, on the 25th of February, Venus follows the sun into Pisces. So the sun has been in dreamy Pisces, so emotions will start to play a role for some of us, again, depending on what Pisces energy you have in your chart. Everyone has some, it's just finding where it is. That's going to tell us a little bit about what might be coming up for you. When Venus is passionate, it rules our relationships, it rules our finances, it rules our creativity. When it moves into this emotional, dreamy, creative, intuitive sign of Pisces, it can be a beautiful energy. This can be a great time to create if you've been waiting to do some sort of project or something. This Pisces energy with Venus running through is going to be beautiful, and she's going to meet up with the sun. And, you know, there's a lot of energy here. Neptune is at home in Pisces. So there's a lot of creative, intuitive, beautiful energy that can be harnessed here. It can also be overindulgent. It can also come off as lazy. It can be too much fantasy. It can be euphoria. It can be those beautiful white lies all the time, right? So this energy is beautiful. It wants to stay beautiful. And sometimes it'll do things to keep that beauty intact. And so it's important not to over idolize or not to, be over compassionate, right? So when we talk about Pisces, it's one of the mutable signs. And one thing that we know about mutable signs is sometimes they need boundaries. So this can be codependent energy. This can be, just very like shallow or self-involved with this energy as well. So if we're not careful, there's not a lot of fire energy in the cosmos. So if we don't have a lot of fire energy in our chart, and even if we do, we might find it hard to find the motivation to do things. So this is still a lot of air energy. So this is, very dreamy. So the call is to take our dreams and be ready to make them into reality, because that energy is coming over the next couple months, where we'll have the energy, things will start moving, things will start happening. And this is, again, the incubator time, where we have these new thoughts, we have these new ideas, we have these dreams, we know what we want to do. And this is a time, a call to take that, sit with it, make sure that, you know, we're not pushing too hard, and still staying aware of where we want to be and how we want to get there, and allowing the energy to bring us, you know, when we feel creative, utilize that creative energy, right? And that creativity and emotions are going to rule this shift from Venus into Pisces that happens again on the 25th. And so again, that energy is beautiful. And on the 25th, there is a little bit of fire in the cosmos, because the moon will be in Leo, which is our creative sign, right? Leo rules our childlike energy. Leo is loyal, Leo is fun, Leo is creative. And so the 25th could be a great time for you to set aside some time to be creative, to tap into that, you know, that sacral chakra energy, that creativity that we all hold within us, whether that's artist creativity, whether that's poetry, whether that's dancing, whether that's, you know, forming something, you know, everybody has creativity, and creativity can come in so many different ways. And I feel like we get stuck in those regular, you know, like if you're not an artist, you know, if you don't paint or you don't draw, then you're not an artist and you're not creative and whatever. No, all of us are creative. We just have to tap into it and find what it is that where we hold our creativity. And sometimes that takes a lot of like trying, right? Sometimes we can't just dive right into creating, especially if we've blocked off that energy. So sacral chakra work, you know, could be calling to you if you feel disconnected from your creativity, or you don't feel like you're creative. People tell me, my clients tell me all the time, I used to say it all the time, I'm not creative, I'm not creative, I'm not creative. Bullshit, you are creative. Everybody's creative. Everybody has a creative outlet. We just have to make space for it. We have to find it. We have to uncover it. And that's the work. And so if you don't feel creative, that's my invitation to you. If you do feel creative, the 25th with the sun in Leo, or I'm sorry, the sun in Pisces, the Venus moving into Pisces, Neptune at home in Pisces, and the moon will be in creative and childlike, fun-loving Leo. This is a great time to create during this energy. So if you have the space there, that would be a great time for it, even going into the 26th as well. So all, you know, potential energy, right? So again, this is all going to depend on how these things fall within your chart. Everybody's chart is different, and everybody's energy will aspect differently with the collective energy. So that's why it's important to know that, you know, you're more than just your sun sign. So horoscopes might not, you know, resonate for you, because there's so much more to your birth chart and to astrology as a whole. So the sun in Leo, however, it's important to remember, as we move with the sun, every time the sun goes into Leo, or I apologize, let's just go back here. We're talking about the moon in Leo. Every time the moon goes into Leo, which happens once a month, so for that 3-ish days that it's in Leo, it's going to oppose everything in Aquarius, and it's going to square everything in Uranus. So the 25th could also be very emotional because of those squares and oppositions as well. But again, I would still invite you to tap into that creative space for you and allow it to be an outlet for any emotions or any things that do come up for you around that energy. So as we get into the last part of the month, we have the full moon happening in Virgo. So full moons, as we discuss all the time, are times to find balance, because we have the sun and the moon on opposite sides of the chart. And so they're also a time to illuminate things that are happening internally that we may shy away from, or we may not have seen, or it may just now be time for us to address these things. So it's always my invitation for you to sit with your emotions, to take time to kind of go into your hermit mode and really tap into your center, and resourcing your needs in whatever way that looks like for you. But when we talk about this moon, it is a Virgo full moon. And so there's an importance and a tie to cleaning. So cleaning your space, cleaning internally, Virgo also rules our overall health. And so this is a time where you may want to pay attention to your health or shift something in your daily health regimen. This is also time to kind of reassess your day-to-day rituals, where you spend your time during the day, where you put your resources, your time, your energy, your emotions, your finances, all of those day-to-day pieces of your life. This is a time where you could find some balance within that. Again, this is a full moon. So 6 months ago during Virgo season, we had the Virgo new moon where you were planting seeds, whether you knew it or not. You were planting seeds during that Virgo new moon. So 6 months ago, there were things starting that we planted. Now we're seeing them start to come to fruition. Those seeds are starting to grow. So this is a time for us to be honest about where we are on those processes and those cycles, to reassess them. Because as we come out of the full moon into the new moon, we start to release what no longer serves us to make space for the next moon, right? So cycles and cycles and cycles. So this full moon is a cycle from 6 months ago when we had the Virgo new moon. Also 2 weeks ago when we had the Aquarius new moon. And also a month ago when we had the Leo full moon. So the moon cycles, channeling and understanding and following the moon cycles, that alone can give you so much knowledge about your healing journey and your own processes. So if you're interested in that, please let me know. I know that it's a lot of information when we talk about the different cycles. So if it's confusing, don't feel bad. Just let me know how I can help you. You can comment, you can message me, and I'd be honored to connect with you and help you with that process. But when we talk about this moon in Virgo, Virgo is very factual. Virgo is very tied to Earth. Pisces, we have the Pisces moon. Venus will also be into Pisces. Neptune is at home in Pisces. So we also have this very dreamy, very otherworldly, very intuitive, very non-factual Pisces energy. So we're finding balance again between what happens in our dreams and what happens in our fantasies and what happens in the real world, and how we can tie those two together, how we can make those two, come into the same. And can we? And how do we do that? And so the full moon is all about, manifesting. We're in the biggest part of it, right? So we're calling in what we want, right? So we're calling in the things that we want and in this world, the real world, the Virgo-ness, right? The plans, the facts, what we can see, what we can touch, what we can feel. And how we balance that with our fantasy world, with our dreams. So we talked before about when we were talking about Mercury, about, how we have all these new things and now we need to integrate them into the world. This is all tied together. Cosmic energy works together. All of these cycles are moving at the same time. And so again, that need for balance in what is real and what is not real, and what is true for us and what is not true for us, and what is fantasy and what has to stay as a fantasy, and what we can bring into this world, into this life, into this Virgo realm, right? So that Virgo Pisces balance here, right? Virgos need facts. Pisces, their mantra is I believe, right? And Virgo analyzes, they need the facts. And so they're very different energies. So we're finding that balance here as we're clearing out these old karmic wounds. More clarity is coming, right? In a couple months, we're going to be in a place where many of us will be in a place where we had no idea how we'd get there. And that is coming. We're in a karmic collective journey. So I mentioned previously that we have the nodes trining Jupiter. And I want to talk about that a little bit. So our nodes, again, are our karmic energy, where we come from, our karmic past and our karmic future, where we're going. So we're talking about the North Node, where we're going, our karmic future, what's pulling our soul evolution. Okay, and that is in Gemini. That's at 16 degrees Gemini. And on the full moon, it's going to form an exact trine, which is a positive aspect to Jupiter at 16 degrees Aquarius. So this is mental. Okay, so this is, I've talked about karmic energy and nodes in previous cosmic updates, but this can get confusing if you're new to astrology. So if it gets confusing, please feel free to ask me questions. Let me know what videos would help, or how I could kind of, give more information around things that you aren't necessarily aware of. But with this trine, we have Jupiter in Aquarius. Jupiter is our expander. It expands anything that it touches. And when it forms a positive trine to our nodes, it's going to be expanding our understanding of the future, our understanding of our perspective of the journey of the future to our forward collective evolution. So we're expanding the knowledge that we have for our journey forward, for our collective evolution. So that is that energy, one way that Jupiter and the North Node work karmically. But in order for our collective to shift, we have to shift internally, personally. So we take this same trine that's happening. So you'll find 16 degrees Aquarius and 16 degrees Gemini. You're going to look for Jupiter and the nodes in your chart as well. But specifically 16 degrees Gemini and Aquarius. And that's going to give you an idea of where it is that you're looking for understanding of shifting your karmic evolution, and where you can step forward into the future and out of old patterns. So we still have, again, that square between Saturn and Uranus happening very tightly in Aquarius and Taurus. So that's a pull. One of the themes that comes with that is a pull to the past, pulling us into the past, reacting in the way that we used to, right? Having old patterns from the past. This is the same with the nodes. So the nodes, the South Node wants to keep us in the past. The North Node wants to propel us into the future, take us into a higher evolution. And so there's going to be, the past will be calling. We will have triggers and activations, and we're going to want to react. Again, this is a time where we're testing out the new ideas and new perspectives and new ways of thinking that we've gained over the last year, 2 years, few months, depending on your journey. And, as a collective, we shift our perspective and we raise our vibration from doing so one by one, right? We have to raise our vibrations and shift our evolution internally first, and then it affects the full collective. So there's so many cycles and so many more things that I could discuss and go into about the cosmos and how it, may affect you or the people around you. But, I want to kind of tie it back to a couple places that you can find in your natal chart. So again, this is collective energy. It's going to depend on your natal chart, specifically on how it will interact with you. If you want a reading, please feel free to connect with me. You can send me an email. You can find me on social media for support. I will help you with all the space and time that I have. But some places for you to find in your chart. So we talked about Mercury early, just grinding away at 11 degrees Aquarius. So where is 11 degrees Aquarius in your chart? Or what house does Aquarius rule in your chart? Because Aquarius is also tied to a lot of the other things that are happening in the cosmos. But specifically, this Mercury, we have this Mercury retrograde. We have at 11 degrees Aquarius. Okay, and then we have the Pisces. So what house does Pisces rule in your chart? Where is the Piscean energy in your chart? Okay, so we have the full moon happening at 8 degrees in Pisces and Gemini. So all the mutable signs at 8 degrees will feel this specifically. So those signs again are Pisces, Gemini, Virgo, and Sagittarius. The moon is happening exactly at 8 degrees of those signs. So if you have aspects or other planets that hit within that, I'd say anywhere between 5 and 10 to 12 degrees of Pisces will feel that significantly. We also have the Venus and the Sun, Venus and Sun both in that first 10 degrees of Pisces. So that first part of Pisces, if you have anything aspecting that, or if you have strong Pisces energy there, you're going to be feeling a lot of, potential shifting in perspective and a lot of emotions here, a lot of changing, a lot of growth is possible, and it can also be very overindulgent because we have Jupiter, right? So it can be too much escapism, too much escaping reality, depending on where your Pisces energy falls, right? So it's important to stay grounded and recognize how we can bring those fantasies and those dreams into the reality, which is also the important part of this moon, this full moon, bringing our dreams into reality. Again, that's 8 degrees of Virgo, that the moon will be at 8 degrees of Virgo. Okay, so finding where these points are in your chart will help kind of guide you around what might be coming up for you. But if you have questions, please feel free to reach out to me. I would love to connect with you. If I don't get right back to you, I do the best I can with the time and space that I have. But you can always shoot me an email and find me on social media at Healing Services or at the Autistic Astrologer. I would love to have you in my Facebook group where we chat about some of these things a little bit more in depth as we go forward. Otherwise, I'll see you on the next Cosmic Update and we will chat soon. Happy February.